With 5 different winners over 8 rounds, this has been a topsy-turvy season. The penultimate race takes place today, and it's been whittled down to 2 main protagonists. Today could be decisive for either of them and either bolster their chances or scupper their hopes. We'll find out which way it swings as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. LeMans is quite a different circuit from all the others on the schedule this season. It's expected to produce some abnormal racing because of that. So let's head down to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to LeMans. When you talk about legendary circuits, this is a place that stands among the most famous in the world. Part permanent road course, part temporary street circuit, it traipses through the countryside just south of the city where it gets its namesake. Its size matches its reputation as well, clocking it at 8.5 miles, which equates to roughly 13.5 kilometers. However, when you take into account that it's split by only 33 turns, the frighteningly fast nature of this circuit becomes clear. Most of the corners have been added over the century of history it's experienced, but many have become renowned and respected. The 2 turns at the opposite ends of the massively long Mulsanne Straight play equally important roles. Church Rouge requires a great exit in order to not lose massive amounts of time, while Mulsanne Corner takes bravery and precision in order to brake as late as possible and keep opponents from passing you on the way in. There's also hair-raising moments like the tricky entry to Indianapolis, or the close walls along the bridge section in the Porsche curves. To win here, drivers will need a very low downforce setup, a good sense of strategy, and heaps of bravery. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the crown jewel of endurance racing, which many drivers dream of someday winning and many fans flock to witness in person. Once you've driven the track here on iRacing, it's easy to see why. You see a little bit around this place, but that's really just a little bit because it's a long lap around here. And Ossian, I have a feeling that this could change the shape of things quite a bit if things don't go the way of our 2 protagonists that I was talking about earlier.
Indeed so, indeed so. Hello and welcome to Le Mans, the fast track, the very, very, very different challenge to everything else. You have to be kind of on your toes here because it can lull you to sleep on those long straights, but stay alert through the corners because the low downforce setups and all those difficult corners mean that it just wants to catch you out. It wants to catch you off guard. And we're going to see a race of 2 natures here on this over 13-kilometer circuit, the 8-mile circuit. We're going to see first part of the race, which is going to be largely drafting and fuel saving, and the second part of the race where all bets are off.
Yeah, I have a feeling that as soon as they get a breakaway and it's down to whoever's left, it's going to be kind of basically every man for himself. But as always, today's race is brought to you by SIMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, let's take a look at that Drivers' Championship because it is actually relatively close here, but Here's where it gets interesting. Abner Acosta, unfortunately, not able to take part in the rest of the season. As you can see, he's leading the way and by 10 points, but he is going to have to duck out because of a loss in his family. And we send our condolences to he and his close loved ones who are probably going through a difficult time right now. Rodrigo Mies will obviously be one inheriting some of that lead, but Paulo Munoz is only 3 points behind. So he could jump him today, depending on how things go. Michael Ross is a little far back, isn't mathematically out of things by any stretch, but it's going to take a lot of things going his way for him to have a shot at the championship. Bruno Asturi, same deal, even farther behind there, 46 points back. Let's take a look at the team standings and how those are as well.
Indeed, so it is still Punto CL Racing Blue with Calvin, Mies and Eisler in the lead, just 11 points ahead of Level Motorsports, Acosta, Asturi and Acerbo, but they're going to be a little bit out of it due to the factors mentioned before. RSR Esport by G Performance rounding out your top 3, 90 points behind the leaders and hoping to hold on against L1 Esports and Punto CL Racing Red.
And of course, for today's race, we are in round 9, as we mentioned, and there's 4 different types of cars that you can choose from. However, the drivers are limited. They usually get at least one time during the season if the BOP changes that they are allowed to switch vehicles, but otherwise you are locked in to what you choose when you start. And then it is a 60-minute race in this series, so don't expect a lot of laps out there here at Le Mans. They have an incident cap, which can give you a penalty at 13 incidents, and then a complete disqualification at 20. Slowdown penalties will probably be more of a concern here at Le Mans on the iRacing service. The bonus points as well will certainly be heavily sought after by our 2 main drivers, Mies and Munoz, today. Now, are you looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions? From official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the description below to learn more. Right now, we're in the midst of qualifying, only 15 minutes, and with the laps being just about 4 minutes in length, you certainly got to get it right. You can't spend too many chances having laps discounted or getting into a wreck. We're currently watching Christian here, Ossian, as I think he's going to be the first one to take a timed lap, it looks like.
Indeed, and don't count him out by any means out of the podium in this race, because he was the 3rd fastest driver in the practice session, and in qualifying should be fast as well. The Porsche is really good on this circuit. Not quite as good as the Ferrari, mind you, but still really a good car choice. And that's what I was going to talk about earlier on, because Paulo Munoz was by far the fastest guy in practice by over 7 tenths, and the Ford isn't the car of choice here. It's gonna be the Ferrari ahead of the Porsche, ahead of the BMW and the Ford, which are kind of neck and neck. So it's gonna be advantage Munoz so far in this situation, as we are watching Eisler drive the Porsche around the track where that Mark has seen so much success.
Absolutely. And into the namesake section soon, the Porsche curves that which he's approaching. It's sort of a reversal of what we've seen all season, because the Ford has been mighty strong almost everywhere they've gone. This couldn't come at a better time for that Ferrari, considering he is at a 3-point deficit to Mies currently. So through the Porsche curves into bridge and now up to karting. This is incredibly swift through here as they get tighter and tighter. Now out of Corvette curve, and there's just one more braking event to go into the Ford chicane. Let's see what he can do on this first lap. Is this one going to count, or did he have an off? Was he sloppy? Woes it up through the first section just a little bit, and then now it gets even tighter down through the last part of the double chicane onto the start finish line and to the line. It's going to be a 3:47.6, and he immediately pulls over. Interesting.
Yeah, I think he was only fueled for one lap, one fast lap here. Mies takes the provisional pole position for a moment until Paulo Munoz puts in a 3:45.6. That is even faster than he did in practice. That's 7 tenths faster, as a matter of fact. Mies was able to improve only by 3 tenths. So Munoz showing the strength of that Ferrari versus the Ford of Mies. And then we have Ruiz, Eisler, and Cal Gwyn rounding out your top 5. And as said, most of these guys seem to be going back to the pit lane and then on for another lap later on. And I think that's going to be the case for most of the guys. Me is going slowly as well. Yeah, he's not going to continue on from the first lap either.
The call keeps going. What about Anderson Schmidt? Looks like he's not pulling over. Yeah, he's going to keep going. A 351 flat for him puts him into 9th. At this point, we're waiting on Dunnigan, Lowendick, Bacigalupo, Valenzuela, excuse me, and Lopez Torres, as well as Utretis, to put a lap in. Otherwise, we've got 11 drivers who've got one down. Now, the thing is, they have to go around for a warm-up lap as well. So essentially, I think they're only going to be able to get one more timed lap in, are they?
Yeah, I think so. Unless they want a double toast lap, so they're only gonna be able to get 2 timed laps in. So you can't really screw up. You can't afford to have a bad lap by any means. As we watch Javi Utreras. Interestingly, also something I should mention: Lucas Bacigalupo is not here on the server at the moment. He did disconnect after some practice laps and probably not taking part, which is a crying shame because he was one of the fast Ferrari guys earlier on in this season. So it's going to be one more contender out of the potential podium battle. But yeah, Munoz so far the man to beat, and I think he is going to be the man to beat as well, at least here in this qualifying session.
Right now, we're following another of the Ferraris. Ted Lowendick is out there, and the Ohio driver is yet to set a time. So he comes up to the Porsche curves. Hopefully, I'm hoping he can stay out in case this one isn't that great. Because if he did only fuel it for one lap, he truly is done. Because I'm not sure that he'll be able to get in and out and do a warm-up lap and everything in time for this. So as he works his way now out of Corvettes, that one looked decent. Didn't go too far off track to nullify the lap. Just has to get it through the Ford chicane. Taking a little bit of extra to the right side as he uses the pit entry to widen that entry to these little back and forth tight little corners up to the line. Let's see if it counts. No, he's got to go around.
I think it might have been an outlap because that was so slow. It was a 357, so it was over 10 seconds of the pace. I don't think that is that slow. I think he was taking a bit of a slower lap and getting his tires up to heat, and then working on towards his fast lap, which is going to be starting. Well, it has already started now. So Michael Ross here on the final sector as well in the Porsche curves with the Ford. Let's see how he can do.
Interesting to note that the difference between first and second place right now, Munoz and Mies, is a whole second, just shy of a second and a tenth between them. So Mies has got a lot of work to do this next time around. Munoz is absolutely flying. Here comes Ross. Let's see. Ooh, he is aggressive through the final part. He's already got one lap. The next one's quicker. It's a 3:48.3. That will only take him up to 5th, and he pulls off from there. So he's happy with that. Mies, however, this lap, this was his out lap because he pulled in. I was about to forget that for a moment. So he's got to go around again.
Yeah, taking very aggressive through the first chicane as well, using all of the track and then some the off tracks, of course, here at Le Mans don't give mercy, and the slowdown penalties as well are gonna play a factor as the sun goes a little bit behind the clouds. Gonna make that second lap just a bit faster. Munoz, meanwhile, he's having a slow lap as well, so he's gonna have his final qualifying lap starting right now. The two protagonists in the championship battle as well as here in the qualifying. So far so good for the Paulo Munoz, but let's see if Mies can find something on that final lap. Also, something of a note, Joe, you mentioned the gap between Munoz and Mies. Well, look at the gap between Mies and Ruiz as well. It just goes to show you how special that lap from Rodrigo Mies truly is.
Absolutely. It's another 8 tenths down to Ruiz. Utretis is going to be the next one, the Floridian. Let's see if he can get a time down this time. So we are now less than 2 minutes to go in qualifying. So everybody is essentially on their final lap. Utretis, a 3:47.4. That's going to put him in third place. Still a long way from Mies, though. It's about 7/10 behind the front row.
That it is. And Utreras, well, it's an improvement, but already in the practice, I think it was Michael Ross who mentioned something along the lines of look at Rodrigo, he's showing what the Ford can do, and us peasants have to bow to his might. And Rodrigo, in his usual style, he mentioned, well, trying my best with this car, and last sector is sideways.
And Uribe, we saw there, just really messed up that last bit through the chicanes. So he's going to have to go around again because he's still yet to set a time. Ted Lowendick also finally trying to set one. As he comes into the Porsche curves, it'll be his only time. Car number 72 under pressure here. And you mentioned the clouds for a bit, which can obviously vary around such a large track. It's only 73 degrees Fahrenheit currently, 23 degrees Celsius on the track surface. So it's pretty cool out there today. It's not like they should be slipping and sliding around too much.
No, and it's very unusual for France. Granted, it is still morning. It is 10:04 virtual standard time, and we got a little bit of winds, westward wind as well here on the track. So that's gonna be an interesting thing to note, and might play a little bit of a part as Mies here getting to the pictures on the Mulsanne corner. He is coming next, actually out of it already onto the Porsche curves. He is coming next. I almost got my LeMans mixed up there, and I've been around this track a couple of times and a couple of 24-hour events as well.
It's on my bucket list to go see this the 24-hour race in person. But we were watching, and that in ninth place, that was Ted Lowendick, able to crack into the top 10, but he could still get shuffled down with the remaining drivers. Mies now out of the Porsche curves. The number 88 with a whole second to make up to get the pole and get that bonus point to pull himself away from Munoz. Munoz is pulled off the track, so he's not going to be able to improve. He's done with his qualifying. Mies out of the final chicane, down to the scoring line. Oh, and it's not faster, a 46.7. He'll stay in second at best.
He did 2 laps at Le Mans within 3/100ths of a second away from each other.
That is consistency. Incredible consistency. Louise Pime Jr. now. He's in 14th, way down the order of this somewhat diminished field. And he goes quicker at 3:49.6, but he does not... no, he does. He goes up to 11th with that one.
Yeah, he does improve, so that's a great lap for him. Let's see what Rafael Russo can do. He's on the final sector with the almighty BMW, taking it all the way from the right in the entry. Then the 4 chicanes, cutting it nicely, the first one. Can he cut the second one nicely? Yes, he can. Taking it all the way to the sausage curb. Can he improve on a 3:49 flat? Let's see. No, he can't. 2/10 lower, and that means he'll stay in 8th place.
Got Portal up next, then it's Uribe. And I think Cal Quinn should be able to finish it up. No, Cal Quinn has already crossed the line, it appears. So just 2 more cars to go. They've got time to finish these hot laps. iRacing allows them to wrap it up. You can see the close to 4 minutes already that they've got left to go. So as the 8:09 comes up to the end of what is a very long lap, where you have time to think about the mistakes that you've made. How many has he made? Has he improved on that 3:49.7? Yes, 49.3. That's up to 10th place.
It's a good lap for Ignacio Hortal, and it's also, I think, gonna be one of the final laps. We still got Pablo Valenzuela Uribe here on his flying lap, and he actually doesn't have a time yet. So this is gonna be crucial. Under 3:50 takes him to 13th place. Under 3:49 takes him all the way up to 8. So let's see what Pablo can do. He's been fast before. Let's see what he can do. And coming across the line, 3:49.4, 11th place for Pablo.
And that is it for our qualifying. So Let's go through that starting order with Munoz on the pole by a wide margin over Rodrigo Mies, his main rival in the championship. Javi Utredas comes back, and he is going to try and take another win from third. Felipe Ruiz is going to be starting in fourth. Christian Eisler, who was quick in the warm-up, couldn't quite reproduce it in the qualifying and is going to start in fifth place. Michael Ross with P6. Horatio Calquin managed seventh, and Rafael Russo with an eighth position. Ted Lowendick starts ninth, and Ignacio Portal is in P10.
Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, as we just mentioned, starting 11th, just ahead of Stacy Kyle Danigan, Luis Pime Jr. 13th, with Miguel A. Lopez Torres 14th. Anderson Schmidt 15th, and Ken Rodriguez is gonna round out your 16 driver field out here today, with Lucas Pacigalupo electing to not take the start at Le Mans. So what do they say about good parties, Joe? The fever Temerian.
Is that what they say? I have not heard that one before.
Oh, it's a Finnish saying then. But yeah, in Finland we say that the fewer people remain, the better the party is going to be, because only the strong ones remain until the sunrise. And I think we've seen a bit of that case as well here as the season is rolling on. Of course, fatigue, exhaustion, and dying championship hopes are taking a couple of drivers out of the equation here, and a couple of drivers not electing to maybe wake up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. if they're European based to take part in these races. But we still have 16 drivers here, and we're gonna have a great race with these guys, because Le Mans, honestly, for racing, it's a great track for drafting each other and having a good battle.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to it as well, because even with smaller fields, this series tends to put on a fantastic show. I learned a new thing today. That is also, by the way, a very Finnish thing to say, it seems like. So Rodrigo Mies and Paulo Munoz, 3 points separate them. They're second and third in the championship, but they are now the ones who are able to win it, essentially, unless something incredible happens and they give guys like Michael Ross an opportunity. Ross, let's see, where is he starting today? He is going to be starting in sixth place. So that's decent for Ross, and we've seen him have good race pace earlier in the season. So as long as he can hold on to the front, I'm sure he might be able to get into it. And I have a feeling that's, Ozzy, going to be one of the big talking points. Who can retain that draft of the front?
Indeed, you can't afford too many battles. If you are Rodrigo Mies, for example, you can't afford to battle Javi Utreras in the early portions of the lap. You can't afford to go side by side too much. If you're Felipe Ruiz, it's the same thing. Eisler and Rosa, I think they're going to be just trying to hold on to the back of the gear, because even though Paulo Munoz was the fastest driver in the qualifying, he can't run away on a straight line. And that also means that Mies and Utreras and Ruiz and everybody else behind him will be able to save a lot of fuel. That's going to be a big talking point. You're going to be lifting off already before the 300-meter marker, over half distance before you would actually break in, and then you're going to lift off and coast into the corner and then brake tight. And you're going to repeat that and repeat that and repeat that and hope that you can save as much as possible.
As we hear the jets flying overhead, there they are, coming down with the tricolor. We're going to get started in just a few moments because they're already out of Maison Blanche. And the Porsche pace car will pull in just a moment, releasing our leaders, giving Paulo Munoz control of this race. Will he skip away like a jet, or will he be held onto by those behind him? He's going very early before even the final chicane. Green flag is out here at Le Mans, and they are single file for the most part coming out of the last corner. Mies gets dropped big time. He is not going to have an opportunity down into the first turn unless we see a mistake from Paulo. Behind him, it's a battle for third between Utredas and Ruiz. And it looks like everybody of those first four are going to be good into the Dunlop chicane. Behind them, it's a little bit tighter. One small lockup with the cars in back, but otherwise, it is good.
Oh. Yeah, Eisler's off there, 727. Christian Eisler, he's had the tragic start. He's been off already on lap number 1. Gets back going, however, and back at the front. Did you see the start? As Ken Rodriguez also spins, no need to go to it, but a single car spin for him. And did you see the start by Paulo Munoz? Because that was incredible. He didn't wait until the main straight. he went off before the last chicane, just on the last chicane, catching Mies and Utreras and Ruiz and everybody else absolutely off guard.
That's the first time I've seen anybody do that here on the channel. It was definitely a very smart move. Now the question is he far enough away to start to pull the gap out of the draft? Because it's already 1.2 seconds between himself and Mies. Behind them, it seems like the best battle we've got among the top runners is still Utreras and Ruiz. In the back, I think Uribe might be having a bit of a problem because he's losing multiple positions. Pime Jr. and Lopez Torres just got by.
Yeah, and interesting bit about these cars, when you see them racing here and going straight, do you ever stop and wonder why are they driving on the middle of the track instead of one of the sides here at Le Mans? Well, there is a good reason for that. They are reducing the drag of the car because the track is curved. It's a public road, so the middle bit is higher than the outside and the inside. So they're reducing the bit of air and creating what is essentially a bit of a suction effect on the middle of the track, and that makes their straight line speed a little bit higher.
I have heard that before, and it's fascinating the little things that drivers will try to do, get those few thousandths and hundredths of a second more. Meanwhile, we're watching the battle for third. Utreras, who we are on board with, looking back at the car of Felipe Ruiz in the number 11 Ford.
Yeah, Ruiz here is trying to catch up to Utreras and trying to hold on to Utreras, but I think he's having a bit of a decision to make. Does he want to pass Utreras? I don't think he does, because they see Mies is still ahead of him and they still have a chance to catch up to Rodrigo Mies. And Mies, meanwhile, this is the sector where he needs to be catching up to Munoz. These fast corners where we know the Ford is absolutely great, and he is catching up through Arnage there and on towards the Porsche curves. He is still within the draft range with his car that has absolutely zero wing. He's been one of the brave ones to take the choice, and looks like that choice is paying out well for the Chilean driver.
Yeah, there was a big lockup into Arnage from Munoz too. I think that cost him some time, and Mies was right out to the edge of the track, just using every inch to see if he can get into the slipstream. And you're right, he is taking advantage of the more technical portions, because look at this. That car up ahead, that Ferrari, keeps getting bigger and bigger in the windscreen. Now they come out of Maison Blanche. Utreras as well seems to be gaining just slightly on them, and he's also dropping Ruiz by a small margin.
Yeah, so it's gonna be looking to be a three-way battle at this point, but it's too early to say anything. Ruiz is still right there. It's Ross, however, who has dropped off from the four-car train so far. So the first lap times coming in, those are not essential. Those don't matter at this point. All that matters to me is right now is that he gets back up to Munoz, and then he can start fuel saving. That's what he needs to do here.
So let's take a look at what happened now that we've got a chance to Christian Eisler there on the opening. I just saw him off to the side right as I was saying that we got through clean. Here it is. And this looks like it happened out of Dunlop because he was off to the side just before the bridge. Oh, overcooked it.
Yeah, if we ask the Iceman about that one, his response is gonna be, I spun.
That's for sure. As Christian Eisler is still going, but unfortunately he's down in 15th since that was right at the first few corners. So the entire field went by. Rodriguez is right now our last driver with his spin that was also on lap 1.
And Felipe Ruiz has taken a slowdown penalty, I think, at Tertre Rouge. He went too wide in that corner, and he has he's actually lost ground already before that. So Ruiz has dropped to P number 5 at the main straight actually. So he took it from the last chicane then, and that means Michael Ross is promoted to 4th place initially. Ross, Ruiz, Russo, Calguin, Lowendick, Portal, and all those guys in the same draft train still.
So Ross now into the top 4 and on his own. He's used to having races like that. We've seen him run pretty much solo for a good chunk of many of these events. As they come through the second chicane, it looks like Ruiz is going to get a good exit. Oh, but I don't know about Russo. Look at him immediately dodging off to the left side. No, he's got to slow down. That's what he's doing. Russo now suffering as the next victim from the slowdown penalties you can accrue by just cutting the course too much here in iRacing. Lowendick gets one, and Cal Quinn is promoted too.
And that's a long slowdown penalty as well, because on second lap you still don't have the good deltas, the good lap time deltas, so it's gonna hold you off for a long time, and that's so cruel for Rafael Russo. He's gonna see everybody passing by him. He's even further behind Hortal. I think he's just staying on the same train though. Yeah, you can see him on the shot pair, so he still has a chance to stay on the train, and that's what matters. All he's hoping right now is that Lowendick can stay in there too, because otherwise they're gonna be losing way too much time. So we're having two distinct trains, and then we have Javi Utreras, who is kinda in no man's land in between, because he's lost ground to the leading duo, who are close together, by the way, and he's also too far ahead of Ross and Ruiz and everybody else to really be battling with them.
As the leaders get closer together, I can tell you that Schmidt made a great move into Indianapolis to pass Lopez Torres for 12th place, but we're down to 0.2 of a second between Munoz and Mies. We hop on board with Mies now, giving you an idea of just how scary it can be through the Porsche curves. This is where it re-enters into what is intentionally made racetrack instead of public roads. Enters back into what I guess you could call the arena section, the pits, where they have all those beautiful grandstands on either side. They slow it up for that last chicane, but Mies still not within attacking distance, but definitely making sure to keep the 3-2-1 honest.
Yeah, he is, and as said, he can get the draft from this distance. He's also got the fastest lap. That's not a surprise by any means at this point in the race. So the leading duo is going to be fascinating to follow them later on in this race. I don't think they're going to have fireworks early on, unless Munoz wants to play the strategy game and wants to let Mies past him, so that he can also save some fuel and not lose out too much on the pit stop. The thing is though, yeah.
News about Lowendick. He also got a slowdown penalty and has fallen to 8th from that mistake. Ruiz just lost a position, it looks like. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what happened there.
Slowdown. That's what happened.
Another
he took the slowdown of the first chicane. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't deny that the drivers are pushing here early in the race. This is quite a few that have suffered from this and are finding those mistakes could be costly in the end. We've seen it decide races before here. Up at the front, though, Mies making good use of that slipstream. He's got it back down to 0.3 of a second. But like you said, I don't think he's going to challenge. I think we're going to see him just sit back there.
Yeah, and he is really at this point in time in the straight line, he's just thinking about saving and saving and saving some more. And even if he makes it past in the pit stop, how is he going to prevent Paulo Munoz from catching up back to him? Because we know Munoz is in the faster car here, and once again lifting off really early, and it's also Munoz that is lifting off early. So both of them saving a little bit of fuel. Mies is having the easier time due to the draft, but both of them already thinking about strategy here, and that's the right call to make. So is Utreras, and I think so are a couple of other guys, but Utreras and Ross are the only ones really of the leading 10 that are out there in clear air that don't have a partner.
Also, Ruiz just got the spot back from Cal Quinn, so Felipe is back into the top 5, but he's towing along Cal Quinn and Hortal. They're coming up to Mulsanne Corner now, one of the trickier braking zones around this track, and oh so critical, because now it is another long stretch around No Name and Golf Curve before they get to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite sections of the track, because you come from Mulsanne Corner, you know that you have made it once more, and then you get to this narrow part of the track where you get to almost 300 km an hour. You get to over 186 miles an hour here, even with these cars. Well, not quite with these cars, still 170 miles an hour. And then you have this fast right-hander, and then the left of Indianapolis that is lovely and banked. But then Arnage, it can really catch you out because it's completely flat and it's surprisingly tight. 90-degree right-hander with the wall coming out right there, you could see it. and the end of that black wall, and so many people have just missed the braking spot and hit that wall in the middle of the race during the night when they get a little bit too sleepy.
It's embarrassingly easy to do that in the end. And this is, again, a battle for 5th place that we're watching among these three. 2 Fords and a Ferrari in line. So as our leaders come to the line, 0.3 of a second still between them. And he's making sure to show himself in the mirrors of that 3-2-1 just to keep him thinking. Make sure that he's always got that Ford on his mind. Ford versus Ferrari, how appropriate here at this French track. And they come across, let's see if we get another quick lap. Nope, Mies does not go faster that time. His 47.5 will stand.
Yeah, they are both fuel saving at this point in time, so Munoz is there's no point for Paulo Munoz to really run as fast as he can. There is no point hot lapping, because why would he? Mies is just gonna stay behind him anyway, and they got such a gap to Utreras behind. Utreras is 2 seconds a lap slower due to lacking the draft and having to fuel save, that he has no reason to go fast. So Munoz is gonna be saving, Mies is gonna be saving behind them, and the race is gonna come alive later on. And so it's a slow burner, really. So the real interest is further back in the pack, watching the lap times between these guys. Couple of close battles there. My interest is between Rafael Russo and Ted Lowendick at the moment, because Russo has no draft, Lowendick is in the Ferrari, and they're gonna have to decide who's gonna lead them pretty soon.
Well, right now, Lowendick's going to have the draft as they head onto the Mulsanne now. We're watching from Teddy's perspective. He's gaining very quickly. Oh, wow. It was ducking out very, very late from behind that BMW. Is he going to be able to outbrake him because he's not fully passed? Now he is beyond that number 22 car into the first chicane. Move Lowendick up into P8.
I think they can work together here, and I think they should, because these long straights give drafting opportunities not only for passing but also for catching up to the next pack. I think we're gonna see Russo come alongside here, and I don't think Teddy's gonna defend it. Oh, Teddy's moving to the inside line, so that's not quite the right thing to do, because I think he should have let Russo pass, let him know that, hey, we can work together, we can catch up to those guys who are in that next pack, and you can do exactly that, and you can save up to a second per lap just by switching the leader on each one of these long straights, move out of the way, and lift off nice and early with the guy in front of you going to the braking zone.
I almost feel like, though, they'll need to time it right, and I think maybe that's why Teddy pulled off to the side, because it seemed like Russo caught him a little bit late on the straightaway. Same thing right here, coming up into the Mulsanne corner. Just wouldn't have been able to do any sort of overtake. Maybe it'll be better out of here, because this is a little bit of a longer stretch than that last one. But he just is not getting the power down. Look at him fall away.
Yeah, that's the BMW problem. That's the problem when you got a Ferrari ahead of you. I think another reason is that Russo is happy to fuel save a little bit behind Teddy. Now that Teddy's got him past, I don't think Russo's too anxious to overtake him right here. And you can see him getting the power here. Here is where he gets the draft. He's gonna lift off once again, nice and early. Not gonna try for any moves, I hope, into this corner, hoping for their sake. And yep, once again, well, he didn't lift off too much. So I don't think they got the plan down, honestly. I don't think they have a plan here. It looks to me like Russo is driving for himself instead of just driving in general.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of cooperation between them. Even still, as long as they're not going side by side, I don't think that'll hurt them too badly. It just depends on what kind of pace that 72 has. Back up to the front, Munoz and Mies just continuing to do their thing. At least one thing will be a little more simpler for us, and that is pit strategy, because that's going to be far more limited than usual.
Yeah, not exactly easy to save a lap here. You need to do quite a bit of fuel saving here to save one lap over 1 hour stint. Good luck over 40 minutes. That's not going to happen. I don't think anybody is able to save a full lap here. So they're going to be talking about saving half a lap or 3/4 of a lap at most, and then having a shorter pit stop. I'd be really surprised to see anybody honestly going to save a full lap. That's going to be an incredible thing if they can pull it off. Unless there is a situation where the limited fuel means that normally you would have like, let's say, 10.5 laps or 9.5 laps, which is what we're most likely going to see. And then when you get to the fuel saving part, you need to save half a lap to make it once more across the line. Then yes, that's gonna be the situation.
Well, I was watching Cal Quinn and Hortal, but I think Hortal himself got a slowdown penalty. That, or he just made a mistake because he went from being right underneath the 666 car to suddenly a whole 2 seconds behind him. So something went awry there in the early part of lap 5. So we switch back now to our front two as they head into the first chicane one more time. Ooh, wow, Munoz really taking it close to the edge on that curb. He can get a slowdown penalty too, and that could have dire consequences.
Yeah, it could. If he's losing 2 seconds, then suddenly he finds Mies running away with it. But I don't think he is. Well, he's playing it close certainly, but he also knows his line and knows his limit. I think he's honestly not too happy about Mies still being there. I think he was counting on that good start to get him away from the draft. But Mies and his zero wing is meaning that okay, it's a genius stroke from Mies. Not only because he's been able to stick up to Munoz with that faster Ferrari, but also despite his car being oversteery, despite his car being, handling with oversteer and getting a bit sideways normally, the fact that he's in dirty air and that aero wash is at the front and taking air away from the front is going to mean that he's having very neutral handling at the moment in those fast corners because you get the understeer from the dirty air and you get the oversteer from the setup. So as long as he's behind Munoz, which is I think where he was betting on being for most of the race, let's be frank, and well, he has a good car under him.
And credit to Mies here too, because he's showing some great restraint in some points of avoiding the temptation to just go on by. That you and I both know, Ozzy, that the racer's natural inclination is you want to pass that guy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you want to pass. You want to pass on the leader. Meanwhile, further behind, we might get passing moves as well. We're seeing Lowendick and Russo once again going at it, with Lowendick ahead and Russo behind, and that big BMW with the black front is hounding closer and closer. And Hortal is, I think, coming closer to Lowendick as well, with Hortal getting a slowdown there, as you mentioned earlier, and he's gonna be getting some draft to get Lowendick behind, at least in very soon.
Yeah, and that's the last thing that Hortal wants is two cars suddenly making it a three-way fight. So he's going to probably be pushing now that he sees them a little bit bigger in his mirrors. They are just about a third of the way through this race now. Onto the Porsche curves for the 5th time. Looks like Lowendick doing a great job keeping back that BMW of Rafael Russo ever since he got by. Just hasn't had an opportunity to try and overtake once again. We expected them to maybe leapfrog and just hasn't come true. In fact, pulls way out ahead of him out of Maison Blanche and Corvette Corner. Is he starting to drop him here maybe?
It could be the case. It could be the case because you're getting a little bit of dirty air in those final corners, and if he has an understeering setup, then yeah, he could be easily losing time there. And when you contrast that to the fast speed of the Ferrari, then it's gonna be a little bit difficult to stay behind with that BMW. So maybe Ted is thinking that okay, I'm just gonna go a little bit faster here. I'm just gonna be, holding my line and sticking to my line, and let's see what can happen. Also, further behind them, we have an interesting situation on P12. Anderson Schmid, Miguel Lopez Torres, and Christian Eisler behind them as well, with Eisler catching this duo up. Eisler's last lap time was 3:49.8, with the guys ahead doing 3:51.4 and 3:50.7 respectively.
Still, it's kind of shocking how little in terms of inroads that Eisler's been able to make. He looked like he had fantastic pace coming into this thing. And now suddenly he is stuck down here. He only had a slight tap on the wall too. It wasn't like he's should have lost much in the way of aero. As we watch these few come through the first chicane, Pime Jr. and Russo. Munoz. Oh, and there's been a change for the lead. Munoz is in second.
Oh, so Mies finally did it, and it was easy. Munoz just went off one side, and he just went past on the straight.
I
So,
think Mies did get a cut course penalty here.
oh yeah, that's actually
he-
you're right when I'm
yeah.
thinking about it.
Because he let him by very, very quickly.
Yeah, and oh yeah, he went too wide on the exit. You mentioned before you can get a cut course out of the curb, and I think he did just that. He went all four wheels off, and yeah. So Munoz got a cut course penalty, but he's right behind Mies now, and this is where it gets interesting. Look at how oversteered that car of Rodrigo Mies is now that he's in clear air.
Yeah, so not ideal. Usually you want to be the driver leading in most situations, and Mies, wonder if he's going to let him back through, and will Munoz want to take it? Because this could be, honestly, a bit of a boon for Paulo. Now he can sit behind and try and save a bit of the fuel that he was using up, being ahead of Rodrigo. And yeah, it doesn't really show his nose here into Indianapolis. Granted, it's a little bit more of a risky move into that corner, so could be waiting for later. We'll keep half an eye on this, see what's going on in the mind of that 321 Ferrari.
I'm just having a thought. I don't know what kind of a racing driver Paulo Munoz is inside his head. Nobody knows apart from Paulo himself. And some racing drivers don't even know themselves how they are. But imagine if... Okay, just let me run this through you. Imagine if Paulo Munoz faked that slowdown penalty to get Mies ahead of him.
I mean, I'll be honest. I put on my tinfoil fashion for a little moment and wondered the same thing. Thought that maybe he either intentionally cut it or, like you said, faked it. Either way, it's put him in a good position now just to sit back and wait, because he didn't lose enough. It was very easy for him to slot right back in. They're going to come around to finish another lap now.
Yeah, so, but why would he do it now just to save fuel? I mean, that's usually something we've seen on Skip Barber races, for example, where in the last lap, at Bathurst, for example, you're gonna be slowing right down and then get the pass on the last straight because there's nothing the guy in front of you is gonna do about it, or they can't do anything about it. We see it often in draft races where the leader is gonna do everything in his power to get the second place guy to take the lead and so they can pass back. So, but I don't think it was due to that. I think it would be due to fuel saving. It's a stretch, certainly, but it's a possibility also, because I was watching the replay back, and if it was a cut course, it was so very slight and it was right on the limit.
And we've switched the cameras back here. This is the battle for third now, and look at the back of it. Michael Ross has caught up to Ruiz and Utredes. So let's watch from his perspective, as he's probably going to get a nice little double slipstream down the Mulsanne.
Yeah, he is from this distance as well. Utredes lost a lot of time last time by. I think he had a slowdown. He was 2 seconds slower than our leaders. And 3 seconds or 4 seconds slower than Mies. And 3 seconds off what he usually does. And here comes Ruiz.
Ruiz goes around the outside, and Utredes decides to just duck back into line. Ross holding on to the back. I said he's tended to have pretty good race pace. Fifth place, looking at a potential podium, will help him quite well.
It will indeed, and that's going to be a great race for Michael Ross, but he's obviously having the podium in his sights with Ruiz and Utredes right there in front of him, and he's in a great place to just watch this and save fuel, see if they battle or see if they do the same thing. But once again, he can lift off nice and early if he elects, which I don't think he did. I don't think he saved as much fuel as he could have there, really. No, he went straight to the brakes. So somebody phone Michael Ross and say, come on, save some more fuel. And I think Munoz just went on the radio and said something to me. And I'm trying to look back, but there was nothing special there. So nothing happened, but Munoz just being on the radio for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't quite make out what he said either, but I heard it too. By the way, Utredes getting awful close to the back of Ruiz in a few of these corners. Certainly not afraid to race him close. A little bit wide for Michael Ross, and that costs him a few feet to the cars ahead.
Oh, Munoz faked it. Never mind. So he faked it to the outside briefly, and I thought they were gonna go side by side to the fast right-hander, but Munoz decided against it because I was really surprised that he was going to do it. So yeah, Utreras is having a chance here.
As we watch them head down into Indianapolis and covers off in the middle of the track, Utreras can't quite make a move. They'll stay put in P4. What about off of Arnage? Another one where the corner exit can have consequences. Ross looks pretty decent here. He's going to gain a little ground from that one.
That was such a confident corner exit from Ruiz as well. He was able to get the power down and turn that car in even with the throttle, and gained like a tenth against Utreras on that corner exit alone with the mechanical grip that he had under his possession. So I wonder how he's got his traction control set up, and if it's even a little bit looser, a little bit more forgiving than the one of Utreras, who seemed to be losing a bit of time. Utreras once again going a little bit wide of the curb, and Ross suddenly finding himself right behind him.
Not going to be close enough for him to take a dive here into the final chicane. It's honestly a lot harder than you would think. This first part so swift into there. You really need to be fully side by side. Let's see as they come across the line. Oh, very good exit for Utreras. A mistake from Ruiz. He's got no chance to defend with much better speed coming up into Dunlop curve. Utreras, however, is going to be on the outside once they hit the Dunlop chicane. He's a little bit past, but not fully past. They both brake at the same time. Doesn't chop him off, gives him space at the apex. Utreras has the spot with a nice move coming out of the final corner to set himself up to get into third.
Yeah, and that was Utreras being consistent, and also Felipe Ruiz being absolutely out of shape in those final corners. I don't know, he braked too late in the first chicane, and then he missed his line, and he couldn't turn in properly onto the second one as well. And nice slide from Utreras as well, heading on to the Hunadier straight, so taking the Tête Rouge with quite a nice line. However, Felipe Ruiz is going to get the line back. And what is Ross going to do here? Is he going to save, or is he going to join the party?
He's going to join the party, but not by getting in and dancing. He's just going to kind of watch the two partners do their little tango and stays put.
I think he's the kind of guy who watches people go to the dance floor and then take their drinks. In this case, where he's going to be, benefiting from the people having a party, so to speak, or maybe the guy who was collecting the empty bottles after the party's over.
I was going to say, I'm just here for the food. So as Michael Ross gathers in even closer this time, this is the closest we've seen him in a while. Gets to the back of Utreras, but doesn't show his nose. Through the second chicane now, and off the corner. Doesn't have the best of exits. Falls off of that orange and white number 10. So we have had one stopper. Anderson Schmidt is our first driver to take a scheduled stop. He's been in and out and is going once again. He returns last on the field.
Yeah, I wonder if he had a bit of damage and decided that this is the earliest he can actually come to the pit lane. No point with that otherwise, because he has no drafting partner now. So he's going to lose a bit of time towards the end of this race. And meanwhile in the third place battle, this is continuing once again with Ruiz, Utreras and Ross basically being in this fourth party together from three different teams, the three different drivers, and Ross is gonna now maybe take a look. No, he is gonna be staying back there so far. And I wonder if it stays like this show when we come to the last lap. I wouldn't say it's advantage Ross if it's still like this, because I don't think Ross is the kind of driver who would be, throwing himself into the heat of the battle necessarily against these two guys. I don't think he quite has the heart for it.
So I think I figured out why we couldn't make out Mies and Munoz. I think they're chatting in Spanish right now over the comms, because they were going back and forth, and I tried to listen in, and I realized I think they might be trying to talk so that at least some of the field can't understand them.
Yeah, I think what Munoz said here, my Spanish is a little bit rusty, but I think what Munoz said there is that you just keep going.
Oh, sorry, Ross and Utreras just had a big wreck in bridge.
Whoa.
What happened?
I know. Okay, so here we're gonna be watching Utreras. We should be watching. He's gonna lose his backhand here and just gonna hit the wall, and nowhere Michael Ross can go but to the wall. That's such a mistake from Javi Utreras there. Wow, and Ross as well. He's gonna be out of this event. He's gonna be gutted. So on board here, watching. He's gonna lose the backhand on the exit of the corner, and just Michael Ross nowhere to go. That's a horrible sight for him.
And they have no spare car in this series, so Utreras is just going to have to try and get the damage fix, and from here on out, he's going to have to try and make lemonade out of LeMans. So the number 10 immediately into pit lane, and Eisler follows him in. I can't take credit for that one, Ozzy. I got that one from Ted Lowendick, honestly. So thanks to Teddy for that one.
How do I delete somebody else's joke?
Yeah, let's go back to our front drivers, Rodrigo Mies and Paulo Munoz. Now, Munoz has dropped off a little bit, and that's why I was curious what they were chatting about. Just because, I mean, it was a back and forth, so they said a few things to each other. There was something under discussion, it appears. The question is
I think Munoz was like, well, I don't know, man. My salary is only coming Friday, so I can't bring the drinks too much. And then Mies was giving him maybe, okay, I can bring in the drinks if you can at least host a party at your place. And then Rodrigo was like, sure. Or it could have been race related, you know, a racing related thing where Munoz was maybe Mies and Munoz going a little bit like, okay, let's stay calm for now. Or maybe they were inquiring about their fuel targets. Who knows?
If we could only go back and understand exactly what was being said. Interesting story about that. I had heard a story once about someone who had gone to a baseball game with a person who knew how to read lips. And when the catcher and the pitcher were talking on the mound, it turned out they were actually just talking about going fishing after the game. So, always important things. As we continue to watch these two, with less than half the race left to go now, and it certainly seems to be a case of it's up to who wins between these two, unless they wreck each other.
But do you know that baseball games, they're called baseball fields, right?
The what they play on is a baseball field, yes?
Yes. If they build one in Northern Europe, I wonder if that means, because of the fields here, the nature of the fields here, I wonder if that means there is a catcher in the right.
There we go. Now he's in the spirit of the puns. So, sticking the cameras on first and second place out of Arnage up to Porsche curves. Luis Pime Jr. is actually continuing to put some pressure onto Rafael Russo. Now, he was right up behind them, but he backed off here into Indianapolis just to give himself a little bit of vision. It's so easy to lose sight into that corner, and that's not a place where you want to miss your braking zone.
I don't think there's any place you want to miss your braking zone in, but yeah, you're right. Especially not here. Munoz has, by the way, caught back up to Mies, as you said. And this is very interesting to see Munoz, because he's suddenly being able to hold to the back of Rodrigo Mies very well here. Is he going to look to the inside into the fourth chicanes? No, he's not. Oh, they're coming to the pit lane. That's right. So this is going to be interesting.
I wonder if they were asking each other how much fuel they had just to gauge. Because, well, they wouldn't want to pit separately, would they? They'd rather pit together, I would think.
Yeah, but they got such a gap behind that I wonder why is that even necessary, because they got 12 seconds to Felipe Luis. I wonder if it would have been two Finnish racing drivers, and knowing my friends who I've raced with, the question would have been, and that's why it would have been also in foreign language. Do you want to go side by side for a bit just to make the race interesting for the broadcasters?
I think this is essentially the end of the road for everybody in terms of fuel. We've seen a bunch of them come in the previous lap. Lowendick, Schmidt, Eisler, Uribe, Dunnigan, and so on down. Everybody in the front half of the field is now in. Looks like, Mies out way ahead of Munoz. Way ahead. It was 2 seconds difference in the box.
That's how much Mies has been able to save. And now, well, I wonder how little fuel he took. I wonder if he did some calculations there and decided that, okay, it's going to be one lap less than Paulo's maybe thinking. Or it could be that he's just, been able to save so much more. It could be also that the Ford is using a little bit less fuel, and that could be the significant difference. We just don't know because we don't have the data here on the commentary booth. We would need the telemetry. We would need to see the engineering data to actually make out what the fuel usage has been for those guys. But yeah, that was a very fast stop for Rodrigo Mies. The unfortunate thing for him is, as we said earlier on, he can't run away from Paulo Munoz on raw pace. I don't think so, at least. Not if we look at qualifying times.
One thing that these pit stops did do is give us a nice fight for 6. Pime Jr., Hortal, and Lowendick are close together, and it looks like Hortal's got a good launch out of Tertre Rouge. He's going to look to the inside. He is going to tango. They're going to go side by side down the Mulsanne. Oh, but he's already starting to lose a little bit of speed here. He is not pulling alongside very quickly at all. Just getting nose to nose now. They head up to the braking zone very soon here, and it's going to be a game of chicken. No one's willing to give way until finally down at the apex, Louise has to give up the ghost, and Hortal gets into 6th.
Yeah, and important thing, gets into 6th place. Look who jumped them on the pit stops, Rafael Russo, and he's running away as fast as he can. I think that's why Hortal wanted to get ahead as soon as possible with Pime Jr. I don't think he's gonna let him get away with it. No, he's gonna overtake once again. No point saving fuel. That's a stupid move from Ignacio Hortal. I'm sorry, but you don't move anymore. You don't move anymore. And he's gonna miss it, and Hortal's gonna potentially get it back in the slowdown. When somebody's alongside, you don't squeeze them out anymore. There is no point to do that. There's still half a race to go. Come on, man. You're so much better than that.
What is he? Is he making sure he can't take the slowdown penalty here?
No, he's. I think he's trying to bump draft him.
Well, he's got to take the penalty, and they almost make contact yet again. And one more bump down into the braking zone. Hortal is able to make the corner. So is Pime Jr. Lowendick is probably watching this, giving him a pretty wide berth. Oh, and he tries to do it again.
Yeah, if I was Ted Lowendick watching this from behind right now, I would brake. And once again, oh no, this is just silly. And he turned him into the wall. I don't know what happened between those guys before, but that's not acceptable at all. And I think Ignacio Hortal should be receiving a very serious punishment for that. But that's the job of the stewards, not us. But that's absolutely not on.
It's sad to see what could have been a good battle end up that way. And I can tell you that the stewards do not take kindly to racing like that from past experience in this series. So yeah, I think both of them are going to have a little bit of a sit down in front of them after the race is over. How much damage did that give Hortal? Yeah, he doesn't look fast in a straight line. I think Lowendick's going to have hopefully an easier time getting by. I'm sure he's having second thoughts about how he does this.
Yeah, because I didn't see anything. It could have been earlier on that was a catalyst to this. I'm not saying it would make it right, but before the pit stops, they were not even close with Russo and Hortal, so there was not a single thing that would have caused this. But yeah, as said, well, it's something that happened between these two drivers, and now it's up to the stewards to make decisions, but that's absolutely not on. So that's, I don't think that's right, and yeah, he's coming to the pit lane, Ignacio Hortal, and I think his chances are over here.
So that's going to give another spot to Teddy. He's up to 6th. He's about 4 seconds behind Russo. That's not impossible to run down, depending on his pace. And did we lose Dunnigan as well?
Yeah, we did.
Not sure what happened to him.
Worth
noting that Paulo Munoz is now 4.5 seconds back. Now, I'm starting to think he may have had a couple slowdowns because last lap did not count for him. And that is, I do not think they are that far apart on pace in just that one single lap. Rodrigo Mies is sitting pretty.
Yeah, that he is, and I have an up. I was giving you wrong info there on your ear, but it was Dunnigan who hit the grass on the Porsche curves and had a bit of a single car incident there and went back first into the wall.
Well, this has had more attrition than I expected. We lost Ross. Utretis has been stuck in the pits ever since his incident. Pyam Jr. obviously is in there now. Tall, not sure if he's going to be returning. Dunnigan is gone, so we're down to, is that right? 11 cars still running out of 16 starters. That's almost ridiculous.
Yeah, and if only I could have them all on my team, they would be Ocean's 11.
Ah. Well, I'm sure that Munoz is kind of wishing he could pull off some sort of brilliant heist here to steal this win from Mies, but it's looking less and less like he's going to be able to do that unless something miraculous happens. And again, he is the one trailing Mies by 3 points coming into this race. And, well, I should say 2 points after qualifying because he did get the bonus point. And it makes me curious who has the fastest lap, since that's another bonus point between them. Either way, he really needs anything he can get to close it down so that he doesn't have to, so that he can be more in control of whether or not he takes the championship come the finale.
Yeah, and do you know, you asked a very good question there. Who has the fastest lap? Well, if you viewers are wondering who has the fastest lap at the moment, you can go to gsrc.tv for our live timing and scoring to find out that the fastest lap currently is 3:47.574, and it's held by Rodrigo Mies.
And you'll get your lollipop for giving that that little boost to that.
Yay!
Yeah. I wish we got lollipops for doing that.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Ruiz almost 5 seconds ahead now as Munoz is struggling. P3 is really where one of the best battles is between Calquin and Ruiz. The 666 ahead of the number 11 right now. It's been a good climb for Horatio Calquin up to third, starting from 7th on the grid.
Yeah, and it's been a little bit of an understated race also for Horatio. Of course, it was helped a little bit by Javi and Michael M. Ross going out like that, but still he's been able to climb on his own, getting past Felipe Ruiz, getting past all those guys, and now he's sitting there on a podium, having one of his best races in a while. And I hope Horatio Calquin can hold on to it because he so needs it. I think he needs a podium, and it's a great result for the man who's been wanting to show that he still got it. You know, he's not a bygone. He is absolutely worthy of a place in the Punto CL Racing Blue team, and he can contribute to that team not only individually but also in the team championship.
Go through the Dunlop chicane. Ruiz has dropped a little bit since we joined this fray. It was at about 7/10 of a second. It's up to 1 second. Now they're going to be coming up to the Mulsanne, and as long as he doesn't fall too far back, he should be able to claw some of this forward. Let's see how he exits out of Tertre Rouge. Here it comes right here, this fast right-hand kink. As they come off the turn, it looks okay. Let's see how much he gains, though.
Yeah, let's see how much he's able to catch up to Horatio Calquin. The gap now 9.5 tenths of a second. Let's see. Does it get under 9 tenths at the end of the straight? Yeah, it does come down, and that's all free gains for Felipe Ruiz. He doesn't have to take any risk to make those gains. It's just something he makes in a straight line, and that will come down even more during the course of these last 15.5 minutes. So, you know, he's gonna be right on the back of Horatio Calquin in not too long unless he makes a mistake. And Ruiz, of course, had made a mistake last time by. He's lost 7 seconds on that last lap, and that's why we find Horatio Calquin in that podium spot. For how long, that's going to be a different question, with Rafa Russo trying to catch them up as well, and that's going to be so frustrating for Rafa Russo because he can see them. He can see that they are close, he can see that they're battling, but he can also see that it's 3 seconds and there is no draft advantage.
Speaking of gaps closing, Mies must have had his own slowdown penalty because it's suddenly less than 4 seconds between himself and Munoz. I went back and looked, and it might have been in the first chicane, but it was difficult to tell. If it was very marginal. And the 88 certainly is going to have to be careful for the remainder of this race, because he could still hand it away by doing that too many times.
He could, and I wonder how his race setup is on the second stint. Looks like he's been able to conserve his tires somewhat, and he looks to be in good shape so far. But as said, he's driving with that zero-wing race setup, and I think he's driving with that zero-wing race setup anyway. He mentioned something along those lines, and it could be something that Rodrigo Mies is coming to regret at the final 10 minutes of this event if his car does get too loose, because it's gonna be on old tires and with a light car, and that's usually when things tend to get a little bit treacherous up there on the 4th Street and anywhere else, really.
We continue to watch this fight for third. Cal Quinn finding Ruiz very strong on this portion of the course. Stays within a couple car lengths. To answer my earlier question, Mies holds the fastest lap. And worth noting, both Rodrigo and Paulo are the only two drivers to have gone into the 3:47 laps during this race. The next quickest is down in the 3:48s. Utredes hit one of those. Even Eisler, who's still been climbing his way through, is back up to 9th. His quickest is a 3:49.5.
Yeah, and I don't think Mies had a slowdown. His lap was a 3:49.2 against Munoz 3:48.6. So that's not enough of a time lost for a slowdown, as third place is still being very closely contested. Let's see the lap times. Cal Quinn 3:51.1, Ruiz 3:50.5, and Russo 3:50.6. So Russo is a little bit faster now than Cal Quinn, who is in clear air. So depending on how quickly or how long this battle lasts, it could be a three-way for the number 3.
But if it was a slowdown penalty, I do believe the lap is shown as blank too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. But last time I checked, I think that's what I saw happens around here. Meanwhile, here we go. Ruiz is closer. He's much closer than we saw last time. Is about 0.5 of a second, literally half of what he was the last time he came out of Tertre Rouge into the clouds. It's been very dark on portions of this circuit, but I'm sure the drivers are grateful that they do not have rain, just like the real Le Mans has quite yet in iRacing. 27 degrees Celsius on the track, so it's gone up slightly. Very strong on the brakes for Ruiz, who closes it down by a huge margin.
He does very, very well on the brakes, and he can do that. And you can approach the brakes two ways. You can either lift off just before the braking, kinda as if you were fuel saving, just to set up the car stable and nice, or you can just attack the brakes and hope for the best. Luis here still drafting behind Cal Quinn. I think the two Punto drivers are not wanting to take this battle too early, because they still have Russo, who is outside of their organization, in the range if they start battling. I think that could play a part where they still want to maximize those team points.
Short truce until they know it's safe to fight, maybe. We ride on board with the helmet cam of Felipe Ruiz. Still within about those 0.2 of a second.
And reporting outside of your picture as well, no need to go to it, but Lopez Torres made a mistake on the first chicane, and he lost 2 places, both to Christian Eisler and to Pablo Valenzuela Uribe. So Eisler now up in 8th, Uribe up in 9th, and we got Torres up in 12th place, or down in 12th place, rather, in that bit of a battle further back in your field. So it's a race of attrition so far, Joe, and I think that's par the course for Le Mans.
Oh, and swap.
Well done. Well, not quite as well done as it could have been, however, because I think that was a little bit too late. I mean, that was a good swap, but I think that was a bit too late, and that was a bit of a strange place to have one.
Yeah, it was right before a critical corner entry where you don't want to be offline, and I think that slowed up Cal Quinn a little bit. I wonder if Cal Quinn maybe noticed his fuel calculations weren't quite right, and he has to get behind his teammate just to try and save to make it to the end.
Or he realized that his teammate is a little bit faster Felipe Ruiz and wanted to, see if he can hold on to him and draft him instead of allowing Russo to catch up to him. Either or, it was a heads-up play by Cal Quinn, and now he's hoping that he can stick it in the draft and stay in the draft as well for the remainder of the race, which we still have 9.5 minutes off to go, so 3 laps for these guys potentially.
Yeah, the leader's just coming to the line now. Or no, he was just past the line. Excuse me. He was going through Dunlop chicane, but I switched over to look at him, not the final chicane, where these two are right now. If Ruiz is faster, we'll know soon enough. See what his pace is compared in these last few laps. They've got about 2.3 seconds to Rafael Russo. He's got to know that he's a little... Oh, what happened here? Utretis. Oh, no, excuse me. That's a lapped car. That's Utretis coming back out on track, just trying to keep going and get those points.
Meanwhile, further back, Eisler made a mistake on the final chicane, and that allowed Uribe to get back past him. I was just about to chime in and say that Uribe has been able to hold on very well to much faster Eisler during the course of the race, and he's still holding on. And in fact, he got faster. And well, those guys have been pretty consistently with each other during the course of last lap, and there you go, just cutting the curb a little bit too much, and Uribe is gonna get by, and that means Eisler has his work cut out for him once more.
That sends him back down to 9th position. He's hustling to try to get back up there. The car behind them is Lopez Torres, and that is for position, so 8th, 9th, and 10th all together out on track with 2 or 3 laps left to go. So trying to figure out, okay, so Utretis is 5 laps down, and how many are they doing? Looks like, okay, so yeah, it looks like Utretis is going to try and just sneak over the 50% line. If they do not do 50% or more of the leader's laps, they do not get scored. They get a DNF. And I think Javi, with him being climbing up, or has been climbing up a little bit in the championship, he's 10th going into this thing. Probably has to get as many as he can.
Sorry, chiming in there a bit of a reaction, but I think that he has another reason too, and that's Stacey Donegan, for example, was classified as out of this race, is only 1 lap ahead of him in the standings, and with Cortal and Pine Jr. coming together, that unfortunate incident later on, they're only 2 laps ahead as well, so Utreras not only has points, but he also has positions. He could be 12th in this race.
That is another reason why it's so important for him to get back out there. Back to our battle in 3rd place. Cal Quinn behind Ruiz. And he's gaining on him. This is where they swapped before. They're not going to swap around this time, though. Big lift from Horatio just to stay behind that red Punto CL machine.
Last time by, I'm not gonna warn anything, but last time by, Munoz was 1 second faster than me. Is the gap in the lead now down to 2.7 seconds or 2.6 seconds. So it's been the same this lap, but Munoz has been slowly but surely getting into the range. And the thing is, if he gets within 2 seconds, within 1.5 seconds, he is going to have the draft. So it's not out of the question that Munoz is still going to throw the challenge to Rodrigo Mies in these dying moments.
Speculation time. We talked about it earlier, that Mies was a lot quicker in pit lane. Now, we thought that maybe it was from fuel saving. You did throw out the possibility that he could have short fueled. Is it maybe because Mies is potentially just not pushing as hard as he could so that he can stretch it to the end? Is it tight for him potentially?
Well, I mean, it's always tight in GT racing. You're never really safe on fuel. And if you're safe on fuel, that means you fuel too much, you're carrying too much weight. So it's going to be tight, but I don't think it's that tight for him, honestly. I think Munoz is able to just hold on to his car a little better at this point in time. But it's going to be interesting to see. Let's go on board with Mies here and listen in as he comes to the first chicane. Let's see if he lifts off earlier than usual. It's going to be a little while still. You're going to be looking for that 300 marker on the left, 10 to 200 marker. But he's going to be lifting on the 300 if he's going to be lifting.
Go right in from the cameras here.
No,
Didn't.
he's not
Yeah,
lifting.
no, not lifting.
So that's where he would do it, if he would do it. Alternatively, you can do it a little bit earlier into Mulsanne and into Indianapolis. Those are the two places. I think you enjoyed my pronunciation of Indianapolis there.
I did actually. Listen,
Yes.
I'm not going to poke fun at it, because if I tried to pronounce Finnish cities, you would probably be cracking up. Anyways, Javi Utredes came back into the pits after that one lap. He did get Stacey Dunnigan like you predicted. I'm not sure if maybe the damage was just too big for him. As we take a look, oh, there's a little bit of a mistake from Ruiz, but similarly, Cal Quinn sliding through that corner. Are they now pushing?
Well, yes, I think they are. And you look at those guys, and as said before, Ruiz made a mistake on the entry of the corner, and Cal Quinn made it on the exit of the corner. So it was a different mistake, but they both still made mistakes. And I think they have to be pushing at this moment in time, because they're still slower than Rafael Russo. Russo has been slowly catching them up these last couple of laps. Last time by, Rafael Russo 350.9, 51.5 for Cal Quinn, and crucially 51.0 for Ruiz, who is leading this duo. So it is, and Rosses as well, he's slow on the right side, he's going to make it lap as well, just letting everybody by. But yeah, Russo is catching them up, and at this rate, he's going to be on the draft range as we get to the final lap.
That is going to be nerve-wracking for all three of them. Russo eager to potentially see if he can get himself on the podium. We should be getting the white flag here with Rodrigo Mies, just a little bit of a lap left to go. Under 3 minutes on the clock. Into the clouds once again. Cal Quinn trying to chase Ruiz. We can start to see now Russo in the background, 1.7 seconds back. Braking hard down into Indianapolis. 22. Does he gain through there? It's 1.6. Nope, back up to 1.7. What about through Arnage? One of the slowest corners on the track. Tries to get the power down. It comes down ever so slightly, taking the poor BMW to heights that he probably didn't think was possible.
Yeah, all the way to the heights of the podium maybe, and that's quite literal, because the podium is all the way above the track here at Le Mans. You're gonna see it on the main straight, above the pit straight actually, on the right side. If you look at it at some point, if you look at pictures of the track and things like that, then you're gonna see it. So all the way to the heights he could go. I wonder if he's gonna be able to stretch it quite there. And I also wonder if Cal Quinn is going to be maybe trying to put a challenge to Ruiz still to want to get to that podium himself. Who knows? Either way, it's going to be a fascinating final lap between these guys. And also if Mies makes a mistake. Mies is well ahead of Munoz, even though Munoz is faster. So it's not going to be not going to be a battle unless he makes a mistake. But yeah, there's a couple of good storylines still going on in this race.
You can see final lap on your screen. And who wouldn't want to be on the podium here at Le Mans, the place where spraying the champagne was born? Dan Gurney starting that tradition here at the French track. As Cal Quinn stays within 0.7 of a second, but Ruiz not as much under pressure as we've seen previously. Russo down to 1.3 seconds now, gaining hand over fist, and it's going to be even quicker now that they hit the Mulsanne.
Yeah, so it's coming down pretty fast, and we're going to see on the straight line just how much he is able to catch. Also, I'm keeping no need to go to it, keeping one eye on the race battle still where Lopez Torres has gotten past Christian Eisler earlier on, so we're going to be watching that as these guys finish. But right now, third place, that's going to be the talking point here. Ruiz, Cal Quinn, and Russo, all those three guys, are they going to come together at Indianapolis Arnage? How much is Russo able to catch up here? That is the real question. And what is Cal Quinn going to do? Is he going to be playing a good teammate and trying to hold off Russo? Or is he going to be trying to stick to his own hand and trying to maybe take the third place himself?
Also, a quick shout out to a quiet driver that we haven't paid much attention to. Anderson Schmidt has gone from 15th to 7th in this race, so very good run from him. But Good run from Calquin up to the back of Ruiz, but not a good enough one that he could maybe attack. He goes wide out of the second chicane, and Calquin starts to fall back. Another little mistake. 1.2 seconds now to Rafael Russo, but the opportunities are running out. He's going to have to get right up there soon.
Yeah, he's no longer has the time, and I think he's hoping, please one more lap, but that's not going to be the case. This is the final lap of this race, so Russo's going to have to find something of that BMW right now if he wants to have a chance on the podium. Ruiz, Calquin right ahead of him. He's going to be able to see them all the way to the end, but is he going to be able to catch them and pass them? That's going to be the real question as well. Not too many good passing opportunities left. You have Indianapolis, you have Arnage, and then you have the fourth chicane, but only if you're really brave.
Yeah, extremely brave, especially on the last lap when they know you're going to be coming. If you get just a whiff of it, they break down into Indianapolis. It doesn't happen there. I can tell you that Mies is actually in the Porsche curves right now, so we got a little bit longer to watch this as they come out of Arnage. I think we're going to have to go to Mies now because he's out of Corvette curve and actually out of Maison Blanche already, up to the Ford chicane. Rodrigo Mies with this one is going to take over the championship lead with a win here at Le Mans, making him one step closer to a championship. Munoz just behind him brings it home in second and has got a mountain to climb next race if he wants to overtake for P1 in the points. What about Ruiz and Calquin? Well, they've fallen apart. Ruiz a full second ahead of the 666.
Indeed, so that's going to mean that Ruiz is going to finish in P number 3. It's going to be Calquin in P number 4 and P number 5 for Rafael Russo. I'm looking at 9th place. Meanwhile, let's let this guy finish. But I was looking at 8th and 9th place because Uribe, Torres, and Eisler were pretty close. And now Lopez Torres made a bit of a mistake. Is that going to allow Eisler to get closer? He still has a chance. He's very brave, but I don't think he's quite close.
He would have needed a magnificent launch off of Corvette. He didn't quite get it. So Torres just needs to slide it through these last couple corners. Nice and tidy. No need to overshoot it from here. See. Takes it over the curbs and down to the line. That's going to solidify Lopez Torres into 9th with Eisler, a top 10. Uribe just ahead of them, you saw as well, taking 8th. And the last car in the lead lap is Kenny Rodriguez, last car to finish even in that number 11. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. was round 9 today for the PRL GTE Sports Car Series, and Rodrigo Mies took a crucial victory. He didn't get the pole, but he made good use of what he had and wound up with the win. Paulo Munoz behind him in second, dropped away after the pit stops, and from there it just wasn't a race between the two. Felipe Ruiz finishes out the podium. We had to watch all the way to the end to see who would wind up getting to spray that champagne. Felipe claimed it ahead of Horatio Calquin, who was fourth, who should still get a lot of credit for his run from seventh to fourth, and Russo as well. Rafael going from eighth to fifth. Ted Lowendick, a sixth place for him, ahead of Anderson Schmidt, who I mentioned briefly, with an incredible climb from 15th. That's actually where he qualified. He did put a time in, and up to 17th in the end. Uribe with an eighth, and Miguel Lopez Torres finishing ninth. Christian Eisler, after a first lap incident, unfortunately was only able to recover to a top 10.
Kenny Rodriguez, being a good organizer, part of the staff in this series, finishing 11th last, making sure everybody gets home safely. And then your list of retired drivers: Ignacio Hortal, Luis Pime Jr., Michael Ross, Stacey Kyle-Danigan, Javi Utreras, and Lucas Pacigalubo, who was DNS, and probably looking at the results, wishes he would have started this race right about now. But Joe, I believe you're just about ready in the interview section to receive our race winner here for some much needed words about his race and his championship potential.
Absolutely. And we pull Rodrigo Mies in with us. Rodrigo, congratulations on the win. I take it from the short pit stop and the way that you just kind of hung back in the first stint that there was a lot of fuel saving going on, was there?
Yeah, it was the madness of fuel saving. Hello, guys. But yeah, it was a really smart race. Paulo was in the faster car he had and really alien pace. But I knew that the only way that I had to fight him was to save fuel. So I was on his back, and Paulo made a mistake, and I passed to the first place. And my thoughts on that moment was that I was screwed. But I started to live and coast like I was mental, and it worked. Paulo was with pace to catch me after the pit stop, but he got a slowdown, I think, and that saved me from him. But yeah.
So this obviously will make you the leader of the points championship with the unfortunate exit of Acosta, but we're going to a very different track next round. We're going to VIR. How is your history there? Do you think that'll be a good place for you to wrap things up?
Yeah, first of all, I want to send my condolences to Abner for his loss, and it's not fair for him, but things happen. Yeah, Virginia, I raced a time ago in the GT3 Cup in the porch, so I know the track. I love it. It's one of my favorite track, with the changes of elevations, the slow and the fast turns. Very technical and complete track, you know. I will aim to get the best performance of the Ford again. So I am with the hope that I can close the championship by in my side.
Well, you will have a handy buffer going there over Paulo based on today's performance. Congratulations again on the win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for the victory?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to my team, uh, to my family. My mom was watching me, and that's all.
Awesome stuff. Always good to have mom watching and see a victory. I'm sure she's pretty proud today for that one. And Ozzy, we've got the other side of the story. You've caught up with Paulo Munoz.
Yes, hello, Paulo. You have a Ferrari on a Ferrari track. You had the pole position by over a second, and then in the race conditions, you held the lead. But then, what happened?
Hi guys. Yeah, we did a lot of practice with Rodrigo this week. I think we did probably 15 or 17 races together, plus a lot of practice. And in every race, I was faster in quali, but he was very close in the race. Looks like the Ford is not very good in the in qualifying trim. Um, and then I realized he was saving fuel behind me, and for some reason my latency and quality bars on my right started blinking red, like completely red, and his car started blinking with all the other cars. And because of that, I got a slowdown, and he passed me there. I tried to fuel save behind him, and after that, he just pulled a big gap in pits, and that was it.
Yeah, so before the pit stop, you were talking a lot with Rodrigo Mies over the radio. Unfortunately, your conversation was in Spanish, and so I wasn't quite able to make out what you guys were talking about. So, could you maybe share us the secrets?
Yeah, I was asking him if my car was blinking because we were quite close together, and with my latency bar, like I think my ping was at like the 400 or 500 mark, and the quality wasn't very good. So I know like the cars have like a huge contact patch when that happens. So I didn't want to hit him or make a move where he wasn't able to see me because I was blinking or something. So I was just constantly asking him if he could see me or I was blinking.
Yeah, I think you looked mostly fine on our broadcast, though. I don't think we noticed anything too excessive. But yeah, Paulo, so it's going to be a championship fight between yourself and Rodrigo Mies heading into Virginia International Raceway. And it's going to be pretty close. Paulo, what are your main weapons? What is your approach for VIR?
Well, VIR is going to be a tough one because I've never raced there, and I know Rodrigo loves that track. So I'm going to have to work like 3 times harder than him this week in order to have a chance. And also I'm going to have to rely on some bad luck in his part to help, because just by winning and him coming second, he's still going to get the title. But I'm still going to give him my best and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for, really, in such a situation. Well, Paulo Munoz, thank you very much for the interview. Congratulations for the second place. Best of luck next week. And if you have any final words in English or Spanish, then feel free to give those away.
Well, thank you very much, guys, as usual, for broadcasting this fantastic series. Thanks to all the sponsors of my team, Pure Sims. Thanks to Ted for giving me draft in qualifying. That was fantastic. Thank you, Ted. And also a big hug to Abner. He's going through some tough times. He posted in the forums that he had to make an emergency trip to Puerto Rico due to some family business. That's why he's not here tonight. So big hug to him. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yep, condolences to the entire family of Abner Acosta for their family issues, for their loss. And thank you very much, Paulo Munoz, for the interview. And we'll see you on VIR.
See you guys.
And with that show, I think it's time to wrap this up and move on to next week. And boy, am I looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too, because this battle is not over. I'm sure Munoz is still going to fight all the way to the end just to see if he can take it. But we, of course, want to give a few thank yous, and also a reminder that if you would like to advertise with GSRC, we have a link in the video description below. And if you go and click on that, you can find out how you can take advantage of over 1 million monthly views, global monthly views that we get through our channels. Also, a thank you goes out to our sponsors, Simulation Motorsports Affinity. They are found at simsa.net. And then, of course, Butt Kicker. If you want to get some of their products for your sim rig, go over to thebuttkicker.com. Thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Ossian, Sean, and Dougie. you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com as well. You can also check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel. Hopefully he's figured out which is Michelin and which is Bridgestone by now. Also, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store linked in that YouTube description. It's just gsrc.storenvy.com. And make sure and subscribe while you're down there. The next race, as we mentioned, that'll be VAR, the finale, Tuesday, August 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.